The Detroit Pistons end their stint in Los Angeles, going 0-2 against the Clippers and the Los Angeles Lakers. We'll talk about this back-to-back that the Pistons had to deal with this past weekend in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I am your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you are listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. So first off, I want to apologize for not getting an episode up on Friday. I told you guys for days to be ready for the Pistons game at 10:30. It was going to be a late one. We're going to be up all night, all that kind of thing. But I really underestimated just how tired I was going to be with having to go to work in the next morning too. There was just no way I was going to be able to get a podcast up. So I decided, you know what? They're playing back-to-back games against both the LA teams. I might as well just record after the second LA game when I don't got work the next day, and we'll get a podcast up that day, the next day, and just recap both the LA games together since they're just a back-to-back. So I apologize for that. Just want to give you guys a heads up on that. Moving forward, though, the rest of the Western road trip, all 9 o'clock games, definitely is much more doable. I have podcasts up just normally like we always do in the morning with those ones. But 10:30, waiting until like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Oh my goodness. Or not afternoon, but in the morning. Oof, that was tough, dude. That's tough. But anyways, I'm recording this one right after the Lakers game. And I have a few things that we're going to talk about from these two games. But the first thing we got to mention is that for those of you guys who did not watch the Lakers game, the Pistons might be without Saddiq Bey too now. He rolled his ankle at the end of this Lakers game and did not return to the game. As someone who has had major ankle problems throughout my entire life playing basketball, twisted my ankle hundreds of times, broken my ankle 3 times, just really bad ankle problems. Seeing his ankle roll the way it did hurt my ankle watching it. So it didn't look good. Hopefully it's not as bad as it looked, but it didn't look good at all, and didn't look like he could put much weight on it at all either. So we're going to stay tuned for that. If they're without Saddiq, they're going to be down Saddiq, Isaiah Stewart, Cade Cunningham, and Hamidou Diallo just got his tooth knocked out in the same game. So I don't know if he's going to miss a game with that either. So the Pistons are starting to get hit with the injury bug, and it's going to be tough for a team that already is lacking depth and talent. For them to be getting injured at the top of their roster, it sucks. So hopefully Cade comes back. Hopefully Saddiq isn't dealing with too bad of an injury with his ankle. Hopefully it was just a little ankle twist, and it's nothing too bad. And Hamidou Diallo doesn't have to miss any time at all with them missing his. I believe it's just a missing tooth, but either way. All right. So outside of that, let's move into the first thing I want to talk about, and that is about the Pistons rookie Jaden Ivey. So Jaden Ivey, I want to say this, for the majority part of this season, for the majority of everything we've seen so far, has been really impressive. I think you're starting to see some of the things that I said that he would struggle with this rookie season from the offseason. You're starting to see some of it come now. He's starting to press a little bit. He's starting to rush things a little bit, starting to play a little bit out of control. But I tweeted this yesterday. Overall, you live with that kind of stuff because what he's able to do with his explosiveness and his ability to get to the rim, you basically want to tell him that, listen, just keep doing you, keep going out there playing hard, keep being explosive, keep getting to the basket. And for his rookie season, you definitely will live with a few turnovers, with a few bad shots around the rim. Like, you want him to push through that. You want him to play full-blown pedal to the metal and just play hard and do what he does great. So that is not too much of an issue. I expected him to struggle with that his rookie season. And really, for the first few years of his career, it takes a while to really develop that kind of thing and get much better in that. Like, he went against a player in the Lakers with Russell Westbrook who's never really been able to perfect it. So it's one of those things that players, I think, like Jaden Ivey, will struggle with at times throughout their entire career. But hopefully he can kind of learn that, kind of like Ja Morant has over the first few years of his career. But either way, that's not the big deal for me. I'm cool with everything he does in that department. Taking some bad shots around the rim, pushing things, turning it over, being aggressive. Like, that's all cool. The three-point shooting, though, cannot continue to happen. That kind of thing should not be allowed by the Pistons coaching staff, and it should be, and Jaden Ivey should be told from here on out, like, dude, you got to chill out with this. So just looking at, I want to recap the last 2 games, but even if you're going back 3 games ago, against the Raptors, you got 5 threes up. Against the Clippers, a few nights ago, got 7 threes up. And this past game against the Lakers, he got 9 threes up. He should not be getting 9, 7, 5 threes in a game. And against the Lakers, he had 6, or in this past game against the Lakers, he had 6 threes taken in the first half. He shouldn't have 6 threes taken throughout an entire game. And I told you guys this, I believe, like a few podcasts ago. Every single time Jaden Ivey takes a pull-up 3, every single time Jaden Ivey takes an unnecessary 3, the defense wins that possession. Whether he makes 1 out of the every 5 or anytime he makes 1, it's still a win for the defense because the defense is petrified of him trying to get to the basket, of him using his explosiveness to get to the basket, to not only create for himself, but to create for an open kick out to the corner on the strong side. They're terrified of what will happen if he's able to get all the way to the basket, which he really can't be stopped doing so. So every time he bails the defense out with a pull-up 3, early in the shot clock too, a friend of the podcast, Bryce Simon, he's host of the Pistons Pulse podcast through the Detroit Free Press. He put out a video on Twitter and on his YouTube channel, like yesterday, I believe it was, and it was highlighting all the threes that Jaden Ivey had been taking recently. And each one of these threes that he had taken, each one of these pull-up threes he was taking, there was 10 plus seconds, 12 plus seconds on the shot clock. Early shot clock pull-up threes that just, not only should pull-up threes really not be in his arsenal right now, definitely not early in the shot clock when you can still put pressure on the defense to get to the rim. He's unstoppable getting to the rim. He's too quick. He's too explosive. There's a few times tonight where he simply drew a foul, not even getting all the way to the rim, but simply trying to go off his first step. Guys aren't able to keep up with that first step, and they bump him off the mark. He can literally dominate a game as a rookie. I think we've kind of seen it a few times already this year. He can dominate a game getting to the basket because of just how crazy, freakish athletic he is. And his touch on the ball around the rim, his ability to finish with each hand, be creative around the rim, double clutch, all that stuff. He's a nightmare at the rim. But again, settling for this many threes is not only bailing the defense out, it's hurting your offense, it's hurting you, and it's hurting your team. He shot 5 of 18 from the floor tonight. 9 of those shots were threes. If you take out all the threes, he shot 4 of 9, which is still not very good from 2-point range, but it's much better than 5 of 18. Against the Clippers, he shot 8 of 21 total, 1 of 7 from deep. If you take away those 7 threes and the 1 make from 3, he shot 7 of 14. That's 50%. So he's being efficient outside of the 3 ball. So it really doesn't make sense to me why he's pressing so much on the 3 ball. But nonetheless, everything else with Jaden Ivey that he's working through as a rookie, you can deal with. You can live with that. It comes with it. We'll welcome it. We'll watch him develop through it and get better. But the over-reliance right now on the pull-up 3, for whatever reason, for a guy who doesn't need to do it, is highly questionable and a little bit confusing. So it's something the coaching staff, I'm sure, is going to get to him and talk to him about and tell him he has to chill out on. He definitely needs to. And hopefully the next time we see them, I believe they play on Sunday at 6 o'clock. Hopefully in that game, we don't see this many threes. His 1 3, before we move on, the 1 3 he made against the Lakers was a catch-and-shoot 3 at the end of the game. That one is a good 3-point attempt. If he's going to catch a kick out and it's a clean catch-and-shoot look, he should be taking those. But the early shot clock pull-up threes, those ones are bad shots. They're just really, really bad shots. And he has to try to clean up his shot selection, which I think coaching staff is going to work with him to try to do. So I can't wait to see it on Sunday, see if he still gets this many threes up. I refuse to believe he would, but I'm interested to see it. When we come back, I want to talk about number 7, Killian Hayes, who is playing really well, had another game that you could probably say was his best game of the season against the Los Angeles Lakers. And over the last 6 games, is playing really well. I want to talk about what we've seen from him during this stretch, and is it sustainable in the next segment. But first, I got to tell you guys about one of our sponsors. This one is MasterClass. So what is MasterClass? MasterClass is accessible on your phone, on the internet, or your smart TV, offering classes on a wide variety of topics, all taught by world-class instructors at the top of their fields. Each class is broken into individual video lessons, usually around 10 minutes long. Members can explore at their own pace. Each class is supported by downloadable materials, class guides, recipes, and more. You can find all available classes at masterclass.com. Hundreds of videos lessons from 180 plus of today's most brilliant minds are available anytime, anywhere on iOS, Android, desktop, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, or Roku. An annual membership starts at $180 a year. With Masterclass, you can learn from the world's best minds. For example, they got famous instructors like this, Chris Voss. You can go to him and learn the art of negotiation. Artist John Legend teaching songwriting. You got famous celebrity Kris Jenner teaching the power of personal branding. Mariah Carey teaching the use of the voice as an instrument. Bob Iger teaching business strategy. And Gordon Ramsay, who is probably my favorite guy on this list. I might even go check that out. Gordon Ramsay teaching cooking. Again, Masterclass is accessible on your phone, web, or smart TV. There's 180 plus different instructors for you to go check out in 11 different categories. All kinds of stuff you can do over at Masterclass. It teaches you all kinds of things. Again, 11 different categories with some of the brightest minds on this planet. Make sure you're checking out Masterclass, and I highly recommend you guys check it out this holiday. They're giving away one annual membership. You get one free. Go to masterclass.com/lockedon today. That's masterclass.com/lockedon today. Terms apply. Again, that's masterclass.com/lockedon. Go check out Masterclass today. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you are listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. All right, so Killian Hayes is having by far his best stretch of the season. This last 6 games, he's been a completely different player for the Detroit Pistons. And you guys know me being the Killian Hayes supporter, the Killian Hayes fan. I've absolutely loved seeing this. Absolutely love seeing it. And probably the best part about what Killian Hayes is doing out here is the change of mindset that we talked about in the offseason that he needed to have, and the change of mindset that I said I heard from him during media day and throughout the preseason in his interviews. You're starting to finally see that. It was not there at all. After the first game of the season, he went 1 of 9 in that first game of the season, and after that, he just lost all confidence. He had lost all confidence, and he looked like he was scared to be on the floor. He was scared to shoot the basketball. And he finally broke out 6 games ago, had a really nice game. He said after that game, I know what I need to do. This is what I needed, and I know what I need to do to succeed in this league and to succeed on this team and reach where I want to be. I'm not turning back now. And I said after that game, we'll see if it's just words or if he's actually going to come out and back it up. And he absolutely has come and backed it up, I should say. The first 11 games of the year, it was tough. It was really tough. First 10 to 11 games, worst start he could have possibly imagined. But like I mentioned on a few podcasts ago, I think Dwayne Casey probably knew what he was doing. Dwayne Casey knew what he was doing by leaving him out there and saying, listen, Killian, you're going to have to fight through this yourself. I'm not going to bail you out by sending you to the G League. We're not going to bail you out by taking you out the rotation and letting you sit on the bench and learn by, just sitting back and watching. No, we're going to put you in the fire. You jigged yourself into this. You're going to pull yourself out. And he's pulling himself out of this right now. So over the last 6 games, Killian Hayes is averaging 11.8 points per game, 4.5 assists a game, 3.7 rebounds, 1.8 steals. He's shooting 42% from the field and 39% from deep. That if Killian Hayes, let me just ask you guys this: if Killian Hayes would have done that, let's say that's his stat line. I actually think he could be even better than this because a lot of those stats were way down from the game against the Clippers, which I want to talk about in a second too. But if Killian Hayes were to average these numbers, if I told you before the season, Killian's going to average 12 points a game, he's going to shoot 42% from the field, 40%, damn near 40% from deep, be 11-4-4 with 2 steals a game, would you guys think that it's a good year for him? Would you guys be okay with that year? And everyone would be like, yes, that's a massive step in the right direction. That would be a big step for him. That would be a good step for him to take. So I think this is sustainable for him. It is. I think he's getting to his spots. He's taking the right shot attempts. And the biggest thing that's sustainable for him, that needs to be sustainable for him, is his confidence. So Dwayne Casey even spoke about it after the game with Killian Hayes. They asked him about Killian obviously playing well this past game, which, by the way, in this past game, he had 18 points. He shot 4 of 6 from deep. He played extremely well for the Pistons. He was the best player for the Detroit Pistons. I don't think there's any argument with that. But they asked him about Killian Hayes, and he said, quote, Kill's growing. Defensively, he was solid. His three-point shooting was a big thing for his confidence. Now he knows with K's out, he's in the driver's seat. He's playing with a lot of confidence, which is good to see. And I watched the interview. He also went on to say that the big thing with Killian Hayes is his confidence. He knows he's not having to look over his shoulder right now, and he's playing with a ton of confidence. So I think everything that he's doing right now is sustainable. This is the player that I thought he could be. It all just depends on if he's going to keep his confidence when he has a bad shooting night. And the reason why I even believe that's going to continue to happen is because he had a bad shooting night against the Los Angeles Clippers. Against the Clippers, I thought he played a really nice game. Defensively, he was everywhere. He was clamping up Kawhi Leonard. He was blocking Reggie Jackson. He was blocking Kawhi Leonard. He was ripping up Paul George. He was everywhere for the Pistons defensively. But he went 1 of 9 from the field against the Clippers. I thought every shot he took was a good shot. He got to his midi. He got a few open catch and shoot looks from beyond the arc. He even got to the rim a few times. He just wasn't able to see the ball go through the hoop, but he was aggressive in trying to find his shot. And I said after that game that this is going to be a big test now. For the last few games, he's been shooting the ball really well, and he's keeping that confidence. He had a bad shooting night. Now we need to see how he responds. Is he now going to go back to being in his shell, playing, scared and not want to shoot the ball and not be aggressive? Or is he going to keep pressing and be like, listen, we're going to put that behind me. I'm coming down here. I'm going to continue to play the same way. And he did. Against the Lakers, he came out and played the exact same way, played extremely confident, got his shots. I thought he actually left a few points on the board. He missed one layup I thought he should have made. He had a midi that I thought he should have made, and another 3 that I thought he rushed he should have made. So really, I think he probably should have had like 24 points tonight, to be honest. But I thought he played really well, obviously, and he kept up that aggression that he has shown, and he's keeping the same kind of confidence. We even saw him hit a 3 in front of the Lakers bench, turn around and start talking trash to the Lakers bench. Who is that guy? We've never seen nothing like that from Killian Hayes before. Where has this come from? Russell Westbrook scored on him, did the rocket baby, and then Killian Hayes came right back down the floor and finished with the right-hand layup over him. First of all, when have we seen Killian trying to finish with a right-hand layup on purpose? And second, when have we seen him try to go right back at a player that's talking trash to him like that? He's gaining confidence. He's feeling like he belongs out there, and he's just playing basketball. Basketball at its root, for those of you guys who haven't played basketball, but basketball at its root, man, it's a fun game, and it has a lot of trash talking, man. And if you can't survive out there when you're trash talking, if you can't talk trash out there, if you can't absorb trash talk and have that motivate you to go out there and then try to kill the guy in the next possession, like if you can't do that, you're not going to survive out there. That's the root of basketball. It is. If you go to any pickup game, high school, college, NBA, there's so much trash talk that happens. You have to be able to withstand that, and you have to be able to deliver it right back, whether it's quiet trash talking, whether it's just giving guys a look, or whether it's just doing it by example. Like, I think Kawhi Leonard does that the best too, by the way. Like the trash talking by example. Like a dude would talk trash to Kawhi, and then Kawhi will just come back down, score on him, look at him a little bit, and walk away. Like, you don't have to say nothing, but that right there in of itself is a message sent. Playing scared, though, if you can't absorb that, it's going to be tough to play. And that's something we had seen from Killian over his beginning of his career and for the first 11 games. He was letting everything on Twitter, everything people were saying about him, and is missing to really take him out of his game. And he was playing completely different. So I really love what we've seen from him in the last 6 games, obviously. I think this is here to stay. Again, I told you guys this at the beginning of the year and in the offseason when we were seeing some of it in the preseason. I told you guys the big thing for Killian Hayes, and not just Killian Hayes, any young player that's trying to develop, any young player that's trying to become something and that has struggled beforehand. The key to that is to come out every single night and play the exact same way, the same way that you want to play. Play that exact same way, whether you're making or missing. Because when you are missing, the more you play the same way, the less missing you're going to have. If you continue to fight through the bad games and you play the exact same way in the good and bad games, the good games will become more consistent and the bad games will start to go away more and more and more. The way you get stuck in development and you don't get better and you don't see that progression is when you only play that way when you see shots going in. Because then you'll get affected way too much when you see shots missing. You need to play the exact same way, whether you're missing, whether you're on, whether you're hot, whether you're cold. If you play the exact same way, no matter what, you will get better. You will get better. That is the key to it. So I really love the fact that Killian went 1 of 9 against the Clippers, and then came out tonight, had probably his best game of the season against the Lakers. If his teammates were able to hit open threes, we're looking at like probably an 18 and 14 night from Killian Hayes. So fantastic game from him. He's playing like a different player over the last 6 games. I think it's here to stay, whether he's making or missing. I really love what we're seeing, and this player that he's been playing like, this player we've seen the last 6 games is a player the Pistons need moving forward. That's a key player right there. So I'm loving what I'm seeing from him. When we come back, I want to talk about some of the things we've seen from some of the other players over the last 2 games, and Alec Burks, who I think has been a big addition to this team and is really making life easier than some of the other guys on the team. We'll talk about that when we come back. But first, I got to tell you guys about one of our sponsors, BetOnline.net. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there. From football to basketball to soccer, esports, we've got it all at BetOnline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. They're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about their trends and action today. And if you head over to BetOnline.net right now and you click on that basketball section, you will see they got the favorites for MVP, Sixth Man of the Year, Championship odds, Head Coach of the Year, Rookie of the Year. Anything you can imagine, any award, anything you want to look at, they have that already over there at BetOnline.net. I would go over there and check out those odds on Jaden Ivey Rookie of the Year, because Paolo Banchero's been missing some games. I think it's a little bit up for grabs right now. It looked like he was going to run away with it. But either way, you can look at that over at BetOnline.net. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about their trends and action today. BetOnline, where the game starts. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you are listening to this on. It's another great way to support the podcast. So I want to talk about some of the other players that we have seen over the last few games. And I want to start off with Alec Burks. Alec Burks is not a star. He's not some superstar or anything. He's not going to win any awards. But I think his addition to the rotation has been major for the Detroit Pistons. Like, he's only shooting 30% from deep so far through 3 games. He's only played 4 games. Before this game, he was shooting 30% from deep. He made 5 of 8 of his threes tonight against the Lakers. He had 23 points. But simply his threat of spacing the floor has been major for the Pistons. His ability to handle the ball and be actually okay at creating for himself and others. He's not as bad. When they originally first started to try to have him, create for or try to play like point guard, I was a little worried about it. But over these 3-4 games, he's actually been decent at it. I actually think he's been fine creating for himself and finding other guys. So having another guy out there, a vet who can score for himself, who can draw fouls and also make the right decision a lot of the times, he's been really helpful for these guys. They need a guy out there, and especially a guy who gets the respect of other teams on the floor without or with the ball in his hands. So I think he's done major things for him. I don't think it's a coincidence that certain guys are starting to play better now that they have Alec Burks out there, a viable threat out there on the floor with them. I don't think that's a coincidence. So I really like what we're seeing from Alec Burks, and he's been a really, really good addition for the Detroit Pistons. He's been big time for him. Even when he's not making all his shots like he did against the Clippers, he's still, I feel like it was big time. I know he's working his way. He can only play in like short stints. He's still working himself back into game condition. But like I said, even in those small stints, he's making a big impact. So I really like what we've seen from Alec Burks. Bojan Bogdanovic, there's something going on with Bojan that I think needs to be corrected. Well, first of all, his defense has been really bad. And I think that's been, I don't know if that's a big surprise to a lot of people, but his defense was really bad against the Lakers. I'm pretty sure the Lakers ran pick and rolls at him 2,000 times. They were abusing him in the pick and roll and just going right at him. And the Lakers scored 137 points against the Pistons tonight. It was they were targeting him. But I don't think anyone cares. Well, it's not that no one cares, but you're not looking at Bojan to be a defender. Everyone knows he's not a good defender. The thing with Bojan that is a little bit concerning for me is this how much they're putting the ball in his hands, and they seem confident, like letting him have the ball in his hands. And it's okay to have the ball in his hands, like in quick actions where his option is to simply go score. But when the Pistons like running like weak side pick and roll for him or high pick and roll for him and letting him just be like the creator for the offense, it's not good. It's not very good at all. He turns the ball over a ton, especially against bigger wings. Expect him to go out there and be like the creator of the offense. This isn't working. He's not good enough passer. He's not good enough playmaker. He's looking for his shot, and when his shot's not there, then it gets a little bit rough to watch. Now, again, he's a really damn good scorer. I wanted to talk about a little bit too that he's an even better scorer than I thought. And you guys remember I was raving about him before the season when they traded for him. But he's an even better overall scorer than I had even known. He's really good at getting to the basket, finishing around the basket. He's good at drawing fouls. He's good at pulling up in the mid-range. He has a variety of the moves in the mid-range, in the post. He can pull up from three, off the dribble, off the bounce, catch and shoot. Like, he's a really good scorer. But he's not a good passer. He's not a great playmaker. So, and he's not a great ball handler either. So putting the ball in his hands and having him go up against really good defenders in high pick and roll, where teams are now just simply trapping him too, by the way, because he's basically the best player on the floor most of the time for the Pistons, offensively at least, scoring-wise, I should say. Maybe not the best player overall, but the biggest scoring threat. Teams are just trapping him, and it's resulting to a lot of turnovers, a lot of bad shots, and a lot of, miscommunication in the half court, not good offense. So I think completely fine to continue to give him a ton of shots. Take as many shots as you want. Continue to run actions for him to put him in a position to score. That's completely fine. There was an action the Pistons ran at the end of this game, like midway through the fourth quarter. They ran it 3 times, back to back to back. They had him down the right corner. They had Killian Hayes at the top of the key. They had Jalen Duren come up from the right block, fake like he was going for a screen with Killian Hayes, then rear back down, give Bojan back down. It's a pin down from the right corner. Bojan curls off of it. Killian hits him with the bounce pass, and Bojan has a defender trailing him somewhere around the high post area. He has an option to either pull up from midi, take a dribble, hit a runner, take a dribble, pull up, have a layup, or if the big man now has to engage Bojan, he has the one simple read he only has to make, which is a lob to Jalen Duren, who's now rolling from the block after that pin down. So that action I really liked. It put the defenses in a bad position. You got to pick your poison, and it's giving Bojan a very easy read. Either shoot this or pass it to Duren. We don't need you to make some next level read. We don't need you at the top of the key coming off this pick and roll trying to see if the help defender from the weak side's tagging down. Is the guy from the weak side pinching in? Like, you don't need to make all those reads. So the actions like that, I really like for Bojan. Giving him high pick and roll probably isn't the right move to do. Definitely not the right move to do. Looking at his turnovers the last 5 games, 2 turnovers against the Knicks, 4 against Boston, 5 against Toronto, 2 against Los Angeles Clippers, 2 against the Los Angeles Lakers, and 46% from the field against the Lakers, 41% against the Toronto Raptors. Not to mention that the Lakers literally were running everything at him on the defensive end. It's not me so much. I don't want to make this sound like I'm coming off trying to complain about Bojan. It's more so that I get that he's playing really well offensively for the Pistons, but I think they're starting to ask a little bit too much of him, or starting to walk that line of what he can and can't do offensively. They're really starting to tiptoe that line. So I think they really need to, reel him back a little bit with how much they're asking him to do. I don't think he's that kind of dude to be handling all that. But overall, still very pleased with Bojan. Without Bojan, I don't know what this team would look like, and they don't look that good right now anyway. So you feel what I'm saying there. Anyways, outside of that, man, there's not much else I want to hit on from these past 2 games. Marvin Bagley has not looked good at all, but I'm not going to give too much of judgment on that because he is coming back from injury. I want to give him time to get settled. The only thing is that a lot of the struggles that he's having are struggles he's had throughout his career and struggles we saw last year. So I don't know if just getting more healthy is going to help him. But yeah, I'm not going to give too much judgment or talk too much about that until he gets conditioning and gets back into shape and feels better. Obviously, I'm not going to do that too much. Isaiah Livers is another player I want you guys to stay tuned to, and then we'll wrap up the podcast. This podcast was a big fan of Isaiah Livers. We're still a big fan of Isaiah Livers, and I feel like Isaiah Livers has a lot of fans in the Pistons community. But he's not playing well, and he's not shooting well from the floor either, which is really shocking. He's not shooting very well from deep. He's shooting 34% from deep, which, of course, just the Pistons' luck. They need shooting desperately, and, of course, the one shooter that they need that they thought they could rely on is not shooting very well. He's shooting 34% on 4 attempts a game. He's not, he's shooting 36% from the field in general, but that doesn't really matter. Like, I think damn near 90% of his shots are all three. So, of course, his shots are going to be lower. But, yeah, man, he's going to have to hit outside shots because while he is a fine team defender and he moves the ball well, tries to play within himself most of the time, he loses his value nonetheless if he's not able to hit outside shots at that 40% clip like we all believe he is capable of doing, and like he had done his rookie year and going all the way back to Michigan throughout his 4-year career at Michigan. So I think that's something to just keep a watch on. I think he's probably just in a cold spurt right now, just not playing very well like that. But I'm not too worried about it. Not too crazy, not too worried about it, but it is something that I'm going to be keeping my eye on. That's why I will say. I think you guys should too. But that's all I've got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think about today's episode in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. Leave a 5-star review whenever podcast platform you're listening to this on. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe, everybody. Go Pistons, and peace out.